Absolutely.
We were not going to spend COVID sitting down. We worked. It is a lot of work. And, it's at that time that if we had approached that farmer at a different time,
right,
with the amount of money that we have, it was
right,
less than £100. He wasn't going to have a conversation with us.
Right.
But because he was throwing milk away, he was willing to take anything. We started taking care of that and taking care of the groceries because we're delivering the yogurt to
right,
them. And guess what?
What?
That opened a door as well.
Wow.
Before you know it, we had 20 more products. We always think that the next best thing will come from a mind that creative, I'll think of my own ideas. But sometimes the simplest and the
Right.
idea that will make money for you is rooted in your village.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you don't have to go far.
Hi guys, thank you so much for watching the previous episode of Jamhuri Fresh Off the Boat. Like I always said, we are passionate about telling different African stories to a global audience. We are passionate about how Kenyans have traveled from one place to another, the lessons they have learned, the breakthroughs they have had, and how their minds have been expanded. And so it was so interesting this year when we're coming into the second season that we feel this Jamhuri title needs to be expanded even a little bit more. And so we were like, yeah, because Jamhuri means freedom. So any African, considering Nairobi such a melting point, who has had an experience of experiencing other African countries and just growing through that, or traveling abroad and growing through that experience, we felt that, yeah, they have a space in our show that they can actually share their stories. So welcome to this second episode of season 2, and I have a wonderful guest. If I don't kill her name, I will leave here with a cup of coffee. So her name is Zitha Bangura. So we're going to introduce her, Zitha Bangura. She is an amazing writer. She is an amazing businesswoman, an author, and she's going to kind of wrap it up really what that means. She's a wife, and she loves really building capacity in women, and so she's going to share a bit about that. We're also going to speak about her book that I have here in studio. So I'm so excited because, like I told you, we love essay, and my first experience outside Kenya was in South Africa, and hey, this also is something that we have in common. So hey, do you want to introduce, maybe kind of just say your name in a much better way than I said it?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Karibu.
My name is Ngo. That is short for Ngobi Zitha.
All
That is my
right.
full name. So Zitha comes from Ngobi Zitha, and I am a mom. I'm a wife, I'm a reverend, I'm a businesswoman, I am a transformational crafter, and I'm a daughter. My parents are still alive, and I'm so grateful for that. And I love traveling. So
That's amazing, because then you are from Zim.
Yes, I'm from Zimbabwe.
All right. Great. So that's also another country that I can't quite say right. I end up not saying it too well. But that's really interesting. But so you're from Zim. Are you Koi or?
No, I'm Ndebele from
Ndebele.
Zimbabwe. I'm
All
actually Kalanga, not Ndebele, but we speak both languages. So I moved from the village
Okay.
in Zimbabwe, and I went to school in the city of Bulawayo. Then from Bulawayo, I moved to Johannesburg, South Africa, where I went to college and started working.
Okay.
And from there, I moved to the United Kingdom, where I settled.
So that's so interesting. So following her journey is that you came from Zim, and you were in a sort of a rural town, moved to the town Bulawayo, and then moved down to South Africa where you did your studies, and then you eventually ended up settling in Leeds.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I just want to kind of maybe touch on your experiences growing up. Like what are your memories? Like what did Zim teach you, or what's a memorable experience about that?
I think the memorable experience about Zim is that I actually thought that everywhere is like Zimbabwe.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
so I thought that everywhere I go, I'll have the same experience that I have in Zimbabwe. I wasn't aware of different cultures. So one of the memorable memories for me is just I used to love walking in the
Okay.
bush, because when we were growing up, we'll be having breakfast and you can see animals passing by.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which doesn't happen now anymore.
Right.
You know, it was so common.
So what kind of animals would pass?
We were scared of elephants, so they would pass, but everyone, will run away. We'll see buffaloes, hares every day,
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite...
So you're really kind of just playing a bit on that stereotype of the African with the wildlife.
It was,
Okay.
for me as a child.
Right,
And I didn't realize how important it was. It was just like one of those things, but now it's etched in my memory as something that some people will never experience in their life.
Yeah, because I never experienced that. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
we'd
did.
see the wild animals now when we'd go on certain roads. Like one of the famous roads we have here is Mombasa Road. So Mombasa Road, at some point, you would start seeing giraffes. You would from the national park, which is still kind of right now. But then there were a lot. Like, I remember even one of my uncles having an accident because he hit or he almost had a collision with a wild animal. And that was not too far from town. And that's just mid-90s,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
wow.
interesting.
Yeah, but it wasn't every day. Like when you say things like this, people think that it was every day. And now when I look back, because I know a bit, I think it was migration. It was when they were
Right.
migrating from
Oh, so
one
you would
place.
see-
Yeah, so
okay,
you would
it was
see
seasonal.
them. Yeah, so it was seasonal. It
Okay.
wasn't like an everyday thing that you sit outside and you see animals.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So you
yeah.
had a bit of Lion King experiences seasonal growing up. And that's amazing because I think animals teach you so much. So growing, seeing that. And then now what made you, because you really moved to South Africa at a very young age.
Yeah, I moved to South Africa at a very young age to go to school there. My sister had gone to school in South Africa.
Right.
And, as a kid, you're like, no, I want to go as well. I want to go to school in South Africa. And I ended up going there. And
So how old were you?
I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your parents had great trust at 15 you're such...
My sister was there.
Oh, right. Okay. So that kind of
Yeah,
helped.
yeah.
And so now you're here in Zim, you're more kind of cocooned in a culture that a language that values that are similar. And at a very young age, you're now being exposed to what South Africa then was in the 90s. It was the gateway to Africa. Mm-hmm. What was your experience like? Do you remember that?
For me, going to South Africa meant that my parents were not close by. It meant freedom. And I mean serious freedom.
I know, at 15, I'm like, you kind of need to, tamper that freedom to some extent.
Yeah, it was total freedom for me because I'm one of the youngest
Right.
children. And when you are the youngest, it was total freedom for me. And I loved it. I really enjoyed South Africa. That was my first experience of going to a nightclub.
At 15?
No,
Okay,
not at
later
15,
on.
but 16, 17, 18.
Right.
Yeah. It was quite interesting. It showed me that, different places, you will have different experiences. And
Right.
that's what South Africa did for me.
So what experience was it? Like, can you, just for the audience who probably have never been to South Africa or are just curious, like, what was the experience like?
I found now when I look back, I think the experience was a bit easier for me because I was younger. The language is different.
Yes.
But it's not so different because of the Ndebele that we speak. Zulu and Ndebele sort of mix a lot. If you can speak Zulu, you can speak Ndebele.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
so that was that made it
a bit
better
easier
for me.
Yes, culture
but
shock-wise.
The difficulty of being there was that I was a foreigner.
So that's one culture shock. So now, and I think, people don't understand that until you move to a space where you are not the residents of that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when we were growing up, yes, there were foreigners in Zimbabwe, but there wasn't that thing that people will ask you, where do you come from, wanting to make you almost feel like you don't belong here, you are a foreigner.
Right.
That's how I felt, and I was like, oh wow, this is a different, experience, and sometimes it's very painful and uncomfortable. And I remember one time I was going to, during that time we were writing letters and posting them. There was no messaging and stuff.
Okay, that's very interesting. And
I relied
yes,
on letters. I was trying to find a post box, and I approached this lady, white lady. She was walking with her son. She pulled her son, and they ran away. And I was only like 15.
Oh, wow, that's some serious culture shock.
What does a 15, how was I a threat? So those were things that happened. And, no one teaches you that. No one really addresses things in that sense that you experience that. And it's part of your growth.
Right. So suddenly at 15, now you're in South Africa, and contrary to where you were born, now you're beginning to understand that there is a sort of an apartheid system in place, or post-apartheid.
Yeah, it was
it's post-apartheid that still, has some racial biasness in it. And this lady looks at you at 15 and thinks of you as a threat, and in your mind you're like, am I less than?
What's going on?
I know. I did it. I mean, for me, it was at 19, and still it was so hard to wrap my mind around it. So I can't even imagine processing that as a 15-year-old.
Yeah, it was quite, shocking, actually.
Yeah, should be. Should not be allowed. So that's interesting. And so what else? Because one of the things I find, especially about Johannesburg, it's such a melting point to different African cultures. You will find every African country.
There is a lot of Africans
in
Johannesburg. That experience that I was talking about, I had it in Pretoria.
Oh, wow, sorry. So that was
not
in
Johannesburg, I found Johannesburg quite relaxed.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it quite relaxed because there were so many different people that were different to me, that spoke different to me, which was also a shock.
Right, that you suddenly understood the world just doesn't operate like
around my culture, my little village, and so it was quite shocking. Even the food.
Yes, even the food.
Yeah, the plantain.
Yes. Oh, that
like
was
the
tasty.
big bananas.
Yes.
I'd never. We don't have plantain in Zimbabwe, so that was another experience. Like, okay, there is a whole lot of different people that eat different food. It was so eye-opening for me.
Wow, and to have that experience at a young age, I think it just gives you like a global perspective of how the world is. And so you're not processing everything through the eyes of your culture. You're beginning to understand that humanity is type of humanity everywhere, Yeah. I think that's very interesting. And so now you study there. Anything interesting about that? Is that where your faith is formed? Anything that happens there? We've already seen your culture shock with racism.
No, I got a job in a very big office, and I was still very young. I was one of the youngest employees there. Life was good.
So was this Pretoria or?
No, Johannesburg. My first job was in Johannesburg. I used to work for a business publication newspaper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And life was good. One thing about faith, when life is good, we don't think about God. Unfortunately, I didn't think about God at that time because everything was going very well.
I know, at 19, getting an opportunity to work in a newspaper agency.
Yeah, it was,
That was good.
Yeah, it was really, really good because even the amount of money that I used to get was a lot for my age.
Yeah. And so the idea of getting a lot of money at your age, at being 19, it came with a lot of what I would call like just the idea to indulge in vices, or were you grounded?
Of course I indulge. I didn't know how to budget.
No one teaches us those things.
No, and it was so shocking because no one teaches you those things, and those are very important things.
Right.
I would spend all my money by, second week of the month.
Right.
The money is finished.
Wow.
And my sister will borrow me And she would say, no, you don't use money like that. You have to keep for this, for that, for that, for that.
Plan, yes.
Yeah, but it took a long time because it was shocking. I thought, in my mind, whenever someone who's working, they would say, I don't have money. I'm thinking, where's the money? You work.
Right.
How can you not have money? And I think that was still in my head that I have money now. I'm working so I can buy and do whatever I want when I want. But the money wouldn't last.
And that's so interesting because if there's a lesson I think I would have loved to learn early is money management.
Budgeting.
Yeah. Just understanding how money works, that it's not about spending it, investing it. Like, I just think these are lessons that we really need to capture quite young.
Yeah.
Because it takes such a long time to understand it and master it, So it's very interesting that you bring that because there's nowhere in a syllabus. And I think even my mom being a bank, I thought like somehow these things you will learn in school. And I'm like, the education does not cover that. Yet this is such a crucial component in you adulting. Constantly, your money is being taken in, money is being asked of you. You're either pulling money and money is coming out of you, And then this is the one skill that is not quite taught. It almost feels like it's intentional for me. All right, so now you are in Johannesburg, 19. It's a melting point. It's a cosmopolitan city. There are all these fun spaces around, and you're indulging. All right.
Yeah.
Almost to a recklessness type of. Well, I mean, you're not out in the street.
No, I wasn't
Could
out
I say you're
in
wild?
the street. I wasn't wild, but I just had fun.
Okay.
I felt like in South Africa where you were allowed to have fun.
Right.
When I was in Zimbabwe, maybe because, we lived in the city with my dad, you wouldn't dare say I'm going to a nightclub. I never entered a nightclub in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
And in South Africa, come Friday, we are out.
Yeah.
Saturday night,
all the
we are
roads
out.
lead to the club. Okay.
And then Sunday we chill because Monday we're going to school.
Right.
But it was so much fun.
Okay.
Yeah, serious fun.
So how long were you in Johannesburg before now you moved to
I
London?
was there for 7 years.
Okay, that's a good enough
Yeah, I
time.
was there for 7 years, yeah. Then,
So you did a bit of your college or...
Yeah, I did a bit of college. Actually, I did finish college in South Africa, yeah.
And do you remember what you studied?
I studied accounting with Boston Business College.
Okay, so cool. Oh, that's nice. So it means by the time you left there, you became a better manager of money.
I had an idea of what you do with money.
All right, good.
Yeah, I didn't indulge
good.
as much.
I know.
Yeah.
I still think accounting is something maybe one of those courses that I need to pick on the side.
I think it helps.
Yeah.
Because you now have a bit of understanding where the money is coming from.
Right.
And what you are spending it on.
Right.
And I think from there I wasn't reckless, but I was like hoarding, which is not good because money has to work for you.
Absolutely.
So I was hoarding. I wasn't spending as much, but I was hoarding. So the money was there, but it wasn't multiplying. It was just coming in.
Just sitting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Which I think are normally the stages of you managing money if you weren't given that education before. So you spend, and then you hoard, and then if you get enlightened, there are people who just die hoarding, If you get enlightened, then you understand, the idea that money compounds, and you have to risk
try
it
and
out.
multiply.
Yes, try and multiply it, So fascinating. Just the idea also of just your growth in terms of understanding the resource, understanding money as a resource and even how it kind of works. So 7 years you've lived in Johannesburg. 7 years you've had your first job. 7 years you've done your undergrad. And now you're like, okay, what's next? So what causes you to move from South Africa to Leeds?
Greener pastures. We always think the grass is always greener on the other
Absolutely.
side. And at the time, a lot of people were, people that I knew were moving to the UK.
Right.
And, this milk and honey idea in our heads, it was also so much in my head. And I wanted to see for myself. We had a cousin who when they're very young, and every time he came home, we're like, oh my goodness. He studied to be a psychiatrist, and, you know, in my head, somewhere, somehow, I thought, if I go there, maybe I'll end up a psychiatrist like him. You know, I was so passionate about going to England. I wanted to go to England. And one of the funny reasons why I actually wanted to go, I read this book by Danielle Steele. It's called No Greater Love.
Okay.
The Titanic story.
Oh, wow.
Is in that book. So before the movie, I had already seen the movie in the book. So I read this book and it spoke about Liverpool. And I was like, I need to go and see this Liverpool.
So, hey, Danielle Steele was really promoting tourism. I don't think she knew that.
She pushed me.
I read it. I think what it just did, it created these superficial expectations of love that now when you are in marriage, you really have to work against that, because now you're just like, you know, if it's not coming that Danielle Steele way, then it's not love.
It's
and you're like,
happening.
That's just, you know, it's a book.
Yeah, so when I went to England, first place I visited,
Liverpool. And so maybe then are you like a Liverpool soccer fan because of that or what? Okay.
The disappointment.
Okay,
Have you been to Liverpool?
I don't think so.
I was so disappointed I could cry. In my head, I had this picture of, you know, the Titanic. So all that romance that they talk about, I thought once I go to to where they were boarding the boats,
Right.
I felt like if I go there and I stand there, I'll see everything that I had read and online. And fortunately, I had a cousin who lived there. And she was like, why do you want to go to this place? Why should we go to this place? I was like, you'll see when we get there. When we get there, she's like,
There's nothing.
there's nothing here. Why are we here?
So there was nothing at the, what do you call
No.
the docking site?
The thing was, what was in my head is not what I saw.
Okay, so I mean, I think
The
really,
docking site, it's still there, but it wasn't the
it
way
wasn't what
that
Danielle Steele wrote.
told me.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
she was using some level of poetic license
Exactly.
to heighten realism, and that's very interesting that you say that, because I just think you're a writer at heart, because this is a similar experience I've had a lot, and I noticed this as a kid, that if they said there was going to be a school trip, I could barely sleep at night, because I would play over and over what the parliament would
possible.
look like,
Yeah.
what the Kenyan National Archives would look like. And so I would create these images in my head, of course, fed by the content I was watching. And so that by the time we would go to those spaces, it was just underwhelming. Like, that's it? And I would get so disappointed. So I noticed like this happened in about 2 school trips. And so I said to myself, at night, what I'm going to do is not allow my mind to build the images, because once it does that, it creates this unexpected expectation.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the whole idea of you getting to Liverpool, the writer I knew was just like, yes, that world should come alive.
Yeah, but
yeah.
it didn't. Yeah, so
Okay,
some things are in our minds, aren't they?
I know. That's just very interesting. It's very interesting how your writer mind was capturing the whole docking site. Okay, that's interesting. So now, so you didn't settle in Liverpool? It was underwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay, and you ended up settling in Leeds?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long were you? Okay, you're still in Leeds?
No, we live in Kent now.
Okay,
We
good.
moved to Kent. Leeds for me was shocking.
Excuse me?
It was total shock, and disappointment is not even the word. You know, I think you are right. It's part of being a writer. You create your own stories in your head. You have your own realities.
Yes.
And you expect to live that reality in real life.
Yes.
And when it doesn't happen, it's so difficult to explain to other people that I'm here now, but it's not. They'll be like, that's what you wanted to do. You said you wanted to go overseas. Now you're overseas and you're complaining again.
Absolutely,
You know?
yes.
So it didn't make sense what I was seeing, what I was feeling, and what was in my head.
Right.
But it made sense to me. I couldn't explain it to the other person because it can sound like you are ungrateful.
Absolutely.
It can sound like, we've moved all these mountains out of the way for you to be there, and now you're complaining about something that people don't understand that.
That's very interesting.
And those are things that I had to battle in my head alone. And I think people are not aware of the impact of moving away from home.
That's true.
People are not aware of homesickness.
Homesickness.
A lot of people are not aware. Once you're overseas, they think, you're happy, you're enjoying yourself.
Right.
And when you're calling home talking, sometimes it's depression.
Yes, it is. And I always say, I think the worst thing for me when I was out was to hear like either one of my parents was sick or something, because it would play on another
level. It heightens everything.
Yes, it heightens everything. Yeah.
So I think the other thing about Leeds as well, girl, it took me time to understand the accent.
Oh, that's true. There is a different accent in Leeds.
I remember going to the shop. And the problem with difference in cultures, you do some things that are rude.
Right.
And because I didn't understand what they were saying, I would end up pointing. I remember one time I went to get bread. And this lady says to me, "Do you want call or on call?" Like, pardon?
Right.
"Do you want call or on call?" Pardon? With that naive.
Suddenly you start stammering. I have that whole joke of, but you just finished.
And she's like, "Call or on call?" She says, "Give me that brown bread."
Right.
And she was like shaking her head.
Because now she felt like you pointed at her. Okay.
I'm being rude.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me 3 months to understand.
So what was she trying to say? Because even I don't understand.
She was saying, "Do you want cut or uncut?"
You are kidding.
"Do you want call or on call?" I'm like, "Call or on call? What is that? What kind of food is that?" "Cut. Do you want cut or uncut bread?"
I said, "You can give me both. I'll see which one I like." I'll let you know once you give me. I'll let you know which one I like.
Yeah, so that was a challenge as well. The accent in Leeds was too strong.
And that, people don't understand that, but that begins to take your confidence down.
Oh, yeah.
I say that because even I remember when I went to America, after being fed all those Hollywood movies, there's no way you would tell me that I don't speak American English. And then I got there, and it was just like half the time you were talking, people were like, huh? Do you mean this? Do you? And my English my confidence I started stammering a lot.
And that is very dangerous because I remember that because it can shift you into this person that people start saying, "Oh, that girl is quiet."
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And it's not that you are quiet. It's because you are tired. You've lost your confidence because every time you speak,
yes,
you are asked
being
again
interrupted.
to repeat. "What did you say? I didn't get that." And that can kill you.
It lowers your confidence. It does.
And
it does.
That once your confidence is lowered, it shifts your character.
That's true. That's true.
And that's very dangerous.
It is because some people never recover from that.
Some people never recover from that.
Yeah.
And for some time, I was like that at work.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't understand what people were saying to me and trying to strike a conversation. And because of difference in cultures, I remember, trying to have a conversation with this guy.
Right.
And I was asking him, "Oh, so where do you live?"
Right.
And I see the rest of the guys in our team, like laughing and smiling. And I'm like, so there was an African guy there. After some time, I was like, why were those guys laughing when I was asking that guy where he lives? He says, "Oh, here in England, they thought you want to ask him out." Like, huh? I was just asking him where he lives, just for conversation.
I
that
know,
I want
it was
to
a
date
weather
him.
talk, had nothing to do with that. Right?
So that misinterpretation of what you are saying in conversation, it can lower your confidence down as well.
Absolutely, because, for the longest time, I think if you grew up in the 90s, then you understand that speaking in African was perceived as being intelligent. So now you're in this country where you are speaking English, but it's not the English they know. And so they, I think that's how your confidence begins to be lowered, because you're like, am I not intelligent? But then you come to understand intelligence is not in a language per se. You know what I'm saying? Because, I think you can speak Zulu, you can speak Ndebele,
Different
you can speak
languages,
Kamba,
yeah, definitely.
and there's intelligence there. So it's not quote unquote what we were brainwashed to think, So that's very interesting that you say that. But so in Leeds, that's where you find your husband, you start your family, and So how's that experience for you?
I found that Leeds became home after
wow.
some time. When you've just arrived,
Yes.
it's like there's this fight inside you. I'm going to work so hard and then I'll go home. I'm going to work so hard by, 2 years, 3 years, I'll have all the pounds that I want and I'll go home.
Right.
But it doesn't always happen like that. And life happened in Leeds. And as much as it broke me,
Right.
so many things happened that broke me. But that
Do you
is
want to
when-
highlight a bit of that? Because I think the whole idea of us catching up, right?
I didn't have papers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that broke me, because what can you do when you don't have papers? You don't belong.
That's
and if
true.
something happens at home, I lost some dear people, I couldn't go home.
And that's
you know,
sad.
and that is sad. But it was in
And
that
process grief, and then you're in constant fear of the government, of being the
Catching you.
immigrant
Yeah.
who's deported back
Yeah.
to Zim.
But oh yes, and
I know, that's
during that
scary.
time it was always on the newspaper. Zimbabwean caught with working without, all those things, all
I
those
know.
stories they play in your head and they
Absolutely.
depress you. But it was in that strife, in that difficulty, in that
Wilderness.
moment,
Right.
in that wilderness, that I found God.
Oh, wow. Look
Yeah.
at how God works.
Yeah, that I found God. And, you realize that just as well I went through what I went through, because if I hadn't gone through that, I am telling you, I was never going to step into church, China.
Oh, really?
No.
Already your gifts, your talents, I think, and your intelligence was already making room for you. And so sometimes when you happen to be that gifted, then you're like, what's the use of God? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've got this.
Yeah, it's working. I got
Yeah,
this in
yeah,
life.
yeah.
And you kind of look level-headed. So, yeah, so that creates I think a sense of human pride, like I can depend on myself. And so, of course, now the paper, the lack of paper
Cut
situation.
me down to size. Cut me down to size.
And so how long were
proper.
you in Leeds without paper? Do you remember? 2, 3 years? 4?
7.
My God, that was tough.
Yeah, it was. It was very tough. And I started, talking to myself, which sounds crazy, but I think it saved me. You know,
Okay.
like there were times when everything is just like falling apart, and
Right.
I'll have conversations. It became so normal to have conversations with myself. Like
Right.
I would say, "No, you've got this. You've got this. This is not the end.
Right,
We have
like-
to fight."
Yes.
And I stopped calling home, because if I call home, being the youngest, my sisters would be like, "No, just come back." And I'm like, "Come back, and then what will I do?
Right.
I've been away for so long. What will I do?"
Right.
And it was in those conversations that I was having with myself that I would say, "Stay on and fight."
Right.
And during that time, I then found God. And then it was, I think sometimes it's good to find God when you are in that state.
Right.
Because I felt like, now I have someone that I can offload to. I don't have to.
One of my favorite hymns is "Cast Your burdens unto Jesus,"
Yeah.
or "Jesus is a friend." Yeah.
Yeah. So it was so good for me, because life pushed me into a corner.
Right.
And it was in that corner that I found God.
Right.
And it wasn't an easy road. But I think finding God in that, you become so grateful for each and every little thing, because I was so pushed into a corner that I took life day by day. Like, God, today, let's see what you have in store for me. Let's see if I'll live
to the end,
to the
without
end
being
of this
caught.
day.
And I know that feeling.
You know.
Because I experienced it. But one of the verses that really comforted me was actually it's one of my friends who gave me. She said, when the Israelites were going through the wilderness, the Lord said to them, as the day is, so shall your strength be. And so I stopped. I had to surrender to that point of, I want to plan like a month. I want to plan a year. It was just today's grace. I have an understanding of what I need to do today. I've done it. I finished. Tomorrow, God's grace would awaken me, and there would be a plan for that, or it would carry me through. So that's very, I think it's quite profound that you say that in the wilderness, the strength tends to be provided, in tits and bits, you know what I'm saying? So that's very interesting that you say that. And so 7 years, and finally God comes through.
The moment there's a difference in knowing God.
Right.
And there's a difference in, just throwing all of you and not leaving anything to God.
Right.
Like you say, Father, I've tried everything that I can.
Yes.
Now you are in charge. Let your will.
Only
no longer mine. Your will. Let your will be done.
Right.
I did that. I had that conversation with myself. When the week finished, I had my papers.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
Yeah. That's how God worked for me. And he's continued to do that.
Just making ways for you.
Making ways for
So
me.
was it the 7-year wilderness, and then eventually in the 7 years, that's when you kind of surrendered to God? Or was it within the 7?
Within the 7 years, I was still, things will happen. And then I'll be so angry and I'll say God, you are not there, because if you were there, I wouldn't be going through this.
Like what?
I had tantrums, just throwing tantrums at God. Yeah, when you work with no papers.
Sometimes they ask you your papers, and you're
they ask your papers. Then it's time to move on to the next job.
I know
that you don't have, that you still have to look for. It's not like you leave from this job to this job, and you still have rent to pay.
Yes. My worst was fearing cops stopping you, because if they run your license, then they're like, "Oh, you should be out."
Yeah. So it was in that time that I just found God, and I've stuck to God since then. And the reason why I was saying that Leeds became home, I managed I became a reverend in Leeds, and I managed to build a business in Leeds. I managed to go to university staying in Leeds. And I think I found myself in Leeds.
Wow.
So it really holds a very special place for me.
We thank God, because Liverpool was quite disappointing. So the fact that
total disappointment, yeah. So that's how I've worked, and that's how I've thrown everything that I do. Like I was saying earlier, that I battled with fear a lot.
Right, I think you mentioned that.
Yeah,
yes.
I battled with fear a lot. I'll have great ideas, but fear will take over.
And it's so interesting. I think when you're battling fear has a way of making you feel like you're the one fighting this. But I think majority of the people actually, it's a common emotion shared, that fear. And I think once you commonize it, then it makes it, I think it makes it easier to overcome it. But then, because people always think I'm brave, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how many times I doubt myself in everything I do? How I hear that voice,
yourself,
I second guess myself. Yeah. I feel the fear saying it's going to collapse, and I just go I'm going to just move on, So it's very interesting. So now your journey with fear.
I've battled fear for a long time. I've had ideas, and fear just stops me. And I think sometimes we hide behind fear. There's fear of failing.
Right.
That was one of the ones that I battled with. And fear of trying.
Yes.
And then trying and then failing.
Right.
And fear of the unknown. You're like, I've never done this before.
Right.
So what if it fails?
Yes.
And once it grabs you, it stops you. And I discovered that sometimes it's disguised as perfection.
It is, or a procrastination, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't actually realize that it's fear. We think, oh, I need to make this perfect. It has to go this way. This has to go that way. My dear, I learned that if you have an idea,
Right.
even if it's unpolished, if it's constantly coming to you, just do it.
Yeah. And it's so sad because many times we're like, God, I want it perfect. I'm not saying don't do the research, don't try and refine it and re-strategize it. But even after you do all that, you're still going to launch an unpolished version of that book. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be probably your best book. It's not going to be your best movie. It's not going to be your best business. But as
it's out there.
It's out there, right?
And the person who needs to see it will see it.
Yes.
But if it's still in here and you are battling your fears in here,
right,
and it's not come out, no, it can't be. And that's why I actually wrote that book, because we started a business during COVID.
Oh, wow. Where everyone is like, do not do anything. That's very interesting, yes.
And people will pull you to the side and say,
right,
are you sure you should be doing this at this time?
Right.
And there was nothing familiar about COVID.
Right, absolutely.
Everything was different.
Yes, because it's something we had
Yes,
no
we had not
rule book
experienced
for
before.
Yes,
there was no bank that was open that you were going to go and ask for money. We started this business with no money, because where were we going to get money from?
Wow.
And what actually pushed me, it's like, what are we going to spend all this time doing?
Right.
How is it going to be like in the end if we are going to just sit at home? And I don't know if you remember, at the time, a lot of farmers were throwing milk away.
That's true.
Because no one was buying, no one was
true.
delivering, no one was doing anything. And I just thought about it. I remembered the recipe from my grandmother. And with fear, I just mentioned to my brother and my husband. And they took on the idea.
Of what? Of taking the milk?
Taking the milk and making it to a yogurt.
Yes, like a cafe.
Yeah. So we used to do that. And
wow.
Yeah, we used to do that.
So, you're going too fast. But you see, we're pulling some really amazing experiences from you. Because many times when God is giving you an idea and telling you to launch out an idea, people want perfect circumstances, a perfect environment.
Yes.
Like, give me the investment, give me this, give me this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And also, people dismiss these subtle ideas, impressions in their hearts. So for you, it was, that you're observing that, hey, people are throwing milk.
Yeah.
Hey, it is not a conducive environment. COVID is here. Hey, I don't have the money. Hey, I am feeling afraid. So all this, quote unquote, what you'd say negative environment, you were surrounded with it.
Yeah.
And in spite of all that, God still says, dare me. Dream, dare, and believe.
See what I'll do.
Yes. And I said for me, fear, because I want to pull out what you said. For you, I feel you did this thing that I always say fear is working while
I'm doing it. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Again.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I think it's like shitting on yourself. It's just like I'm so, like I'm afraid to
do it, but
like I can feel it. Like, what if I make the yogurt and no one buys it? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you've hit it on the...
Who's gonna buy a recipe from a grandmother?
Yes. Who will be buying milk? And we did have people talking like, why would you come all the way from Zimbabwe to England to sell milk?
And I love it also because why I really love this thing, because it's also showing the intelligence that is in African culture, which many times everything about African culture is demonized. And I'm not saying that there are not things that we need to evolve in. Every culture has things that need to be, people need to evolve out of, But of course, the English say, don't throw the baby with the water.
Yeah.
And so for you to be able to perceive, maybe there's some cultural things within my grandmother were not necessarily true to where I am right now. But this yogurt thing, this whole idea of healing the gut, this whole idea that there's milk around me, I need to give you a high five. That is so
sister.
cool.
Thank you.
Good job. Absolutely.
We were not going to spend COVID sitting down. We worked. It is a lot of work.
It is, because also it means you had to really improvise systems that were kind of now broken because of the whole lockdown. Yeah, but you still dreamt, and I love that.
Yeah, and it's at that time that if we had approached that farmer at a different time,
right,
with the amount of money that we have. It was
Right.
less than £100. He wasn't going to have a conversation with us.
Right.
But because he was throwing milk away, he was willing to take anything
That you were offering
Yeah.
him. Wow.
and delivering.
And so, I love it because in a place when people felt afraid, felt like the world was ending, you occupied. And
We took over the space.
you took over the space. And, I think the interesting thing about the believer, now that, of course, we know the signs are there, when we know that, the message that I feel that is being failed to communicate is that Jesus says, you will have all this. And then he says what? He says, I'm coming soon.
Dominate,
And then he
yeah.
says what? Occupy.
Yeah,
Which
and
I'm always
dominate.
like, God, that's a conflict. Like if I feel you're coming soon, what I want to do is pack up and go wait for you somewhere in a mountain. But that's not how the waiting of a believer is.
And I think sometimes, when we are doing business, one thing about the church, we always feel like we should separate business. But God is in that business. And
Right.
I've always served. I am a server.
Right.
And in that business, while we're doing that business, I was still doing ministry. I was still
Wow.
serving because there were older people
Right.
that we started, taking care of.
Right.
Because they won't have anyone to go to the shops to get milk. They won't have anyone. My rice is finished. My cooking oil is finished. We started taking care of that and taking care of the groceries because we're delivering the yogurt to them.
Right.
And guess what?
What?
That opened a door as well. People started saying, "Oh, do you sauce sweet potatoes? Do you have peanuts?
Right.
I want Zimbabwean peanut butter. I want Zimbabwean jam. I want Zimbabwean biscuits."
Wow.
Before you know it, we had 20 more products.
That were added to the one kefir.
Yeah.
Wow.
That we were supplying. And it gave me so much confidence. But at first, I was scared. I
Right,
remember
absolutely.
pitching to the first person,
Right.
even to tell them our milk was very expensive.
Yeah.
Even to say
How
the
much
price,
you're
I
planning?
was scared. I
Right.
said the price. The lady was like, "Oh, bring me 2. I love that thing." And I called the next one. The next one said, "Bring me 3. I'll take to my sister and my brother." The next, before you know it, we were sold out the first day. And
so where were you making this milk from? Was it your house or what?
we had a farm where we rented small space.
Okay.
No one was using it. No one was
Right.
doing anything. So we
Yes.
had the small space where we had the buckets and all that. So yeah, but fear
I love it.
still came.
Of course. I don't
What if it's a one-off? What if people bought out of pity? What if, and then when you're battling fear and people come and they put more fear in you by saying,
Right.
"Do you think this is really a good time to be doing business? Do you think this thing will last in COVID?" I am telling you, before we knew it, one thing about business that I'll say to people that are in business,
Right.
don't get too comfortable.
That's true. That's true. And it's so funny that you say that because fear comes in. So you have the fear of starting, and then now you have
You've started.
You've
I'm
started,
confident.
and now you're moving.
Yeah.
And then these are always just our human instinct is just I want to be comfortable. And many times when God is causing me to evolve or pivot, He's always like, Gina, that place that you're standing is sinking sand.
Yeah,
If you
need to
don't,
move.
yes, and it's always a challenge. I'm like, no, I need to rethink. He's like, yeah, if you don't move into podcasting, you're gonna sink in just holding just the idea that you're gonna tell fictional stories as one of your strongest income streams, and so it's just that constant pivoting, the gifting, or following the leading of the voice, and sometimes it's calling you to uncharted waters, So,
Oh, yeah.
I know. I mean, we don't have enough time to flesh your whole story, but I think one of the main takeaways for me is how you are able to leave Africa and go to a foreign country, and one of the tools that you used to stabilize yourself was an African invention
Recipe.
or recipe. How cool is that?
Yeah, because we always think that the next best thing will come from a mind that is creative. I'll think of my own ideas. But sometimes the simplest and the
Right.
idea that will make money for you is rooted in your village.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you don't have to go far.
Right, and I love it because it's just the whole idea I've been saying that there's intelligence in African culture. There is, and so that whole idea, when you're, and I always say, I think for me that was one of my eye openers when I traveled out and I saw how cultures are being. Like we are consuming culture.
Yeah,
you
we
know what
are
I'm saying?
consuming
So we're
culture.
eating Chinese,
Everything.
Korean movies. You know what I'm saying? Korean beauty products, Korean whatever. And I thought, but why can't I? What's in Africa that I can package and put it out here?
We have all we need.
Absolutely,
in
absolutely.
Africa.
Absolutely.
Actually, last year when I came, there's this tree that I use to formulate some of my hair products. And how this was born,
You are a
I
businesswoman.
consistently, I lost my hair.
Right.
And this was a secret. It was like a secret that I didn't want people to know. And one time when I was in church, someone came behind me and they whispered, "Oh, next time when you're combing your hair, make sure you cover your bald patch."
In church? Oh, that was nasty.
My heart broke. And from that day, I said, you know what? I'm done with this hair. I'll have bald patches. I'll just try and pull it, to cover, to tie it. But you can't, when you have big bald patches, you can't. And I went home.
What had you processed your hair then?
Yeah, I'd processed my hair.
Okay.
Was that, had I? No, I don't, no, I had stopped, but still. So I was buying things to try to make it better. It wasn't working. And one time I just thought, there's that tree that my grandmother used to use. Because now I wanted a product
Right.
that will heal my scalp
Right.
and grow my hair
Yeah.
at the same time. And I couldn't find it in the market. I wanted something that would specifically heal the scalp because
Right.
it was like there is an infection that is
Right.
eating the hair, like the hair was
Wow.
getting eaten and the scalp was like this. So I just decided, okay, let me mix this and that and that. And I used to see my grandmother do that.
Right.
So I took the seeds and baked them and grinded them and
What
put them.
seeds are these?
What's the tree called? I saw a lot of it in Kenya, and I was
Moringa?
asking. No, I was asking older women, "Do you know what this tree
It's
does?" And
baobab
they
tree?
didn't know. No. It's the oil that you get from it is castor oil. It's
Oh,
all
really?
over Kenya.
Yeah, like I use castor oil on my face
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
tree is all over Kenya. And I was asking people last year, and people were like, "No, we don't know." I said, "The leaves. Do you use?" They said, "No." I said, "The seeds. Oh, the seeds always fall on the floor." And I was like, people don't know that castor oil comes from that. I can't remember what the tree is called, but it's all over Kenya. I'll take a picture and I'll show you.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Let me know.
Yeah, so I decided, let me do that. And I realized that most of the time, and it's an African thing, unfortunately,
That's true.
we always look for the outsiders,
Right.
outside help to come and help us. For example, in terms of aid,
Right.
we always look on the outside
Right.
to get the help. And that's what I was doing. I was going to these shops that sell products that were not created for me.
Absolutely. And
I'm
they were not
buying
even,
them.
the trial test was not done on your hair.
Yes, and I'm trying to think. And I realized when I sat down and I thought, let me do this, I realized the answers that we are looking for
That's
are
so
already
close here. Absolutely.
inside of us. I think it takes God
Yeah.
to actually reveal it to us that the answer that you are looking for is inside of you. And that's how the oil started.
I am in completely awe of your story because I have watched my mom make such herbal medication just from everything herbal that she brings to the house and mixes it up. And, this is good for this is good for this. And I'm like, oh my God, do you understand how much this knowledge is lacking? And so the fact that you're already doing that, I think your story will really be an encouragement for her because I was like, you need to launch out in this because this thing is needed.
Yeah, and what I don't like about our culture, I learned from observing my grandmother. She didn't sit me down and teach me.
Right.
And there are so many skills that she went with that people don't know about because no one was intentionally taught You know, in Africa, I
Right.
always tell people when they say, "Oh, this," I say, in Africa we have everything that we
That's
need.
true.
We were just lied to, and we bought that lie.
Absolutely.
And until you get out of Africa and you go to other countries, that's when you see how much we've believed the lie, and it has been a limitation
Absolutely, it is.
in
It is.
generations, but it's stopping.
It's stopping, and with people like you and what you're doing, I believe that you are going to inspire so many women to begin to look within and see how the knowledge that has been passed down to them, whether intentionally or unintentionally, can actually be a product, a good, or a service that can be used in the marketplace
yes.
and can also generate resource. So I love some of the giveaway and some of the takeaways from your story is the whole idea that following the still small voice, because I think some of the sometimes people refuse to move on their dream because they are waiting for angels to check in, and the big light or the deep voice to sound,
like
and
thunder.
Yeah, like thunder. Oh yes, like thunder. But God many times is in the still small voice, the impressions, And it's very interesting for me. One of the ways I also conquered fear was, I remember thinking, God, what if I'm in the wrong path? And God
He
one
will show
time,
you.
yes, and He said that to me. He said, Gina, you know one thing, I'd rather have you moving. Because even when you wait on me, you're moving. You're just moving in something that may not be the ideal thing that you want. Like waiting, you wait in momentum.
You hit it there.
Right.
Where we say, I'm waiting on God, but you're not doing anything.
Right.
How can you just sit and be still? So when He's coming to bless you, He's blessing you in you sitting and saying you're waiting on God. And I feel like it's an excuse that we use as believers.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's fear.
It's fear.
Dressed in I'm waiting on God.
It's in a pride. And I think there are times God can just say, be still. But anytime we've seen that, it's always it's a very short period. He says, Elijah, go wait for me and the ravens will feed you. And then he pulls him out. Mm-hmm. So, when you find someone is just chilling 2-3 years, it's just like, dude, this is now
Still
mimicking
waiting on God.
Yes. Because even in that waiting, He'll cause you to begin to do something. So I think one of the things that helped me evolve or move from the fear was understanding that our courage is not being afraid. It's being afraid and still doing it.
Oh, you
and
got
so,
it.
you know what I'm saying? Like, even when I started this podcast, I was like, what if people... And I was just like, you cannot overthink it. Like, just do it. Whether they come or not, you know what I'm saying?
Just do it.
My obedience to God is I do it. That's my part, to do it to the best level I know, and then He will bring the destiny helpers as I move. And I remember one of my investors' mentors said, Gina, get that boat as much as you can out of the shore. You could have sat down and say, oh yeah, I have hair products. Now I need an investor. But you're like, no, I'm going to do something with what I have. I'm going to get some containers. I'm going to go to the farm.
Yeah.
I'm going to, and
I'll print it out at home and it will look silly and funny,
Right.
but I'll sell it.
And that's such courage. Like, it's tremendous courage to begin to say, what's that you have in your hand, like Moses? What's the little thing? And I will bless it. Right, because God knew technology. You'd have showed up with a sword from heaven and go like, Moses, use this. You know what I'm saying? It has laser beams and everything. Yeah. But He was just like, no, it's something in your hand that looks old, ragged, like
But
from
I'll
your
use
grandmother.
it. Yeah.
Ooh, this is a whole
The
salmon.
idea.
Oh, you're going to pay me for this.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank
Take
you,
it.
Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. It's a stick. This grandmother's knowledge is a
Yeah,
stick.
yeah, and we overlook
Because you're
things
familiar
like
with
that.
it. It was a shepherd's stick. It was something that had been used in ancient times.
Yeah.
And it looked so invaluable.
Yeah.
But you have seen value on the herbs she was mixing. Grew your hair, now you have a product line.
Yes.
So what she did, mixing milk, probiotics, they could not tell you was probiotics, but they knew when they drank their tummies were better. And then now you can package it in a modern world and sell it to help with gut health.
Yeah. And for that business, when that worked, it gave me confidence to go into bigger businesses. That's why we moved from Leeds
Oh, wow.
to Kent, because we now opened another business that we doing, which is domiciliary care, where we go into people's homes and we give them the care that they need. Some of them, you just sit with them the whole day because they don't want to be alone. And so it opened a door that, yes, I still feel the fear. I'm not gonna lie, I still feel the fear, but I move.
And I love it because you could have gone to Leeds and just settled for a 9 to 5 p.m. job profession.
I used to.
I know, but you evolved from that to like, I'm going to, when he told Joshua and Caleb, like, hey, I'm giving you a land. Go and conquer it. That idea of occupy, I'm going to occupy. I mean, moving from Leeds to Kent, because Kent is a more bougie area, sophisticated area.
It's money.
Right, and they don't say immigrants are allowed here. But you're like, if you don't give me the table, I'm going to come in and make a table. And so it's so interesting when you're saying you feel fear, and everything you're doing to me resounds as tremendous courage. And I think some of the scriptures I love, and I remember reading it over. When I am afraid, I will trust you in Psalms. Or when I'm afraid, you will uphold me with your righteous hand. And I remember the first walk of my faith, journeying with this feature film, I would always be like, God, I'm so afraid. And then he would say it, Gina. I would say, but when I'm afraid, I will trust in you, God, and then I would walk in and I would pitch and then I would come out and feel the fear, and I would say, God, and I would do it, I know you're pulling so much from me, it's very interesting. Because, when you're walking that path, it feels so afraid. But now when you stand and see, you didn't even know that one day you'd be in a podcast in Kenya sharing that story.
Girl.
You know what I'm saying? And so if you just sat back and was like, it's doomsday, COVID is going to end the world, let's begin to see how we're going to go down in the bunkers, this wouldn't be here. No. And so sometimes I say, you're afraid to obey, but you don't understand what your obedience means to the global global world.
Yes.
You don't know what your story will do to a girl who stumbles on the podcast in Singapore and goes like, hey, I actually need to move in obedience. So I always say, I think, and the Lord one time when I was just like, no, I'm thinking in a place of comfort zone. I'm like, okay, I kind of got my presence in this industry, so I don't need to now move. And the Lord was like, okay, now move to the podcast space. And I was just like, I don't want to, And I remember him just saying, I want you to understand that everyone who is inspiring you has paid a price. Of losing their anonymity. Because I was so big on that, I was like, I just want to be behind the scenes person.
I don't want to be known by people.
I don't want people to see
life.
Right, and I don't want people to make memes of me, so please don't, And I was just like, I don't want to do that, And he just kept saying, but these people sacrificed so that you could be inspired. They sacrificed so that you could hear the gospel of Christ. And so you owe it to them, and you owe it to my kingdom that you sacrifice these things that you're holding so dear, that my kingdom advances forward, So, yeah.
And I think it's very important that we know that when you have a gift, it's not just for you and your children.
Oh, you got to say that again.
Because sometimes I think there's that thing that, when I have something, it's like, okay, as long as me and my children are fine. Some gifts God gives you so that other people can benefit. Absolutely. And by other people, it doesn't necessarily mean your siblings.
Right.
By other people, I mean, like the me and you large, now. I'm from Zimbabwe, you are from Kenya.
Right.
You're not even from Zimbabwe. So the gift that you are imparting right now to me and the one that I'm imparting to you.
Absolutely.
It has no boundaries. We are the ones that put the boundaries.
Absolutely.
And we should not be doing that because that was not what God intended for that gift.
Absolutely. And I'm 100% with you. And like just you said, like how fear... how it dresses itself as procrastination, how it dresses itself as perfection. I feel it also dresses itself like that, like behind the scenes. Like, oh, I'm just a shy person. Oh, and I'm like, no, honey, just admit it. You're afraid and you're probably dealing with some self-pride that you that you really need to deal with. Because like you said, and Jesus put it very clearly, he said, unless a seed falls to the ground. This is when we pour ourselves out, it cannot multiply.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I think also one of the things that has really caused me to really launch out in my giftings, and which are really inspiring me even at this point, is the master gave gifts and he'll come back and ask of the gifts.
What did you do
What
with
did
it?
you do with them? You know, because we always talk about, oh, we're going to go to heaven. Oh, I've given my life to Christ. But we never take into account that in that parable, it says when the master came and he found the one who did not multiply the gift, he was banished.
Yeah, wicked servant.
Right. No, he was just banished. It even elaborates it more. It says he was banished to where people gnash their teeth. The last time I checked, that was hell.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And that made me think, oh God.
What
please.
am I doing
I know.
here?
I was like, I don't want you to come and find me seated on the gifts that you gave me, so I'm going to do it. And so just before we end, and she's going to give us some parting shots and where you can follow her. She has written a phenomenal book, Fermenting Fear into Freedom. I love her whole fermenting brand. Like, she ferments the milk. She's written a book on fermenting the fear, that, you know, when you feel the fear, you don't have to look at it as something negative. You can actually culture it into courage
And freedom.
And so it's a book. I'm sure she will give you details on how you can find it, but you know, she'll let you know how you can follow her, so you can kind of just let people know where they can find the book and where they can follow you on your social media.
All right, thank you so much. Fermenting Fear into Freedom is available on Amazon and on my socials. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on LinkedIn. Just look for Zitha Bangura, Transformational Crafter, which is I support people to transform their lives through, you know, changing your mindset and looking at the things that make us behave the way that we behave, which can be from childhood conditioning. So I deal with things like that. And I wrote this book because of the experience that I had in COVID. And if you are battling with fear, this one is for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely
so much.
gonna read it. Love it. Thank you so much. Any parting shots? Anything that you really want to stress?
There is a verse in the Bible, I can't remember where exactly, but it says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Right.
And we constantly use that verse.
Yes.
But sometimes we are the weapon.
Oh, wow.
That is formed against ourselves. Why? When we don't obey what God tells you. How, you know, some people will say, oh, I don't know if God who's speaking to me. If you have an idea and it keeps coming back to you,
Right.
constantly coming back to you, that is God talking to you. You need to work on that idea, because as much as you won't see the end, there is a gifting, and each and every gifting that God gives you, He will guide you.
Right.
He will give you the clients that you need, that you cannot even fathom them in your head.
Amen.
He will give them to you. So when you say, no weapon formed against me shall prosper,
Right.
and you are then not doing the things that God wants you to do.
Right.
You are not walking in that element that God wants you to walk in. You are that weapon against yourself, and you cannot defeat yourself. You cannot defeat things that are inside of you
Until you are able to
confront and deal with them. And I realize that, you know, we pile up things because it's uncomfortable to deal with them.
Right.
It's uncomfortable to have a conversation, especially in the African culture.
Yes.
If a conversation is uncomfortable, we can't have it. But it's time. We need to have those difficult conversations.
Absolutely. And you're just touching on what this journey has been, is walking people a lot on their soul wounds,
Yeah.
and healing from those traumas, so that you maximize who you are, addressing them, naming them, and then declaring the healing and the word of God, so that those lies are completely dismantled.
Because if we don't deal with that, then the generations that are to come are still going to battle that, and it multiplies.
Absolutely.
So if we're not having those hard conversations because we want to be everybody's friend, it's not going to work, because we are failing the next generation. And
I love that. You're failing the next generation. And I think those things should make you want to do better.
We
should do better, because I say the disservice I can do for my children is allow them to face the same battles that I faced. because they must be the idea that one generation,
Fought.
Moses walked in the wilderness, and then Joshua and Caleb are now in the promised land. And really, if we walk faith, then we are progressively moving forward. Not in perfection, but we are moving forward. So it's been wonderful having you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Right.
I really, really enjoyed this.
Me too. I think even your bio doesn't quite capture everything that you are. What has come out here is just exceptional. So I've had a really great time.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Karibu sana. I would recommend all of you to really follow her here and see her journey. And if there's anything that you should learn from her, is that God uses very ordinary people to do extraordinary things. So if you are questioning whether you are the person to carry that dream, you are. And don't look at those small ideas that you have as insignificant. That small idea, that quote-unquote yogurt that her grandma was making is one of the things that has created a great income stream for her. So look around you. There are problems. Those problems, you have been inspired by God with solutions. And when you enact on those solutions, a tremendous resource comes to you. Thank you so much for watching Jamhuri Fresh Off the Boat. Like I told you, our Jamhuri is expanding. We are getting all these Africans in, and we are running forward with a theme like it's time for Africa. And so if you're an African, if you're a Kenyan who has had an a diaspora experience, whether you've lived in another country in Africa or you've engaged with the global world and you feel you have an inspiring story, please reach out to us at jamhurifreshofftheboat@gmail.com and tell us your story. And yes, we will call you. If you're in Nairobi, you will come and sit here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.